Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Khan, I wanted to ask you about price gouging in the food market and the FTC's role in alleviating the pressure that families are feeling here. Over the last 4 years, food prices have risen over 25%. That's according to the Consumer Price Index. Large corporations like to blame inflation on supply chain shocks. Report after report shows that the price increases have been driven by large corporations taking advantage of an outsized market to raise prices on the backs of working people. And again, there is no food shortage in the U.S. So FTC released a report finding that large grocery retailers, quote, seem to have used rising costs as an opportunity to further raise prices to increase their profits, which remain elevated today, end quote. I know your agency and the administration have been trying to address the financial pressures consumers are feeling. What actions has the FTC taken to date to rein in high food prices?
So the FTC earlier this year sued to block the Kroger-Albertsons merger because we alleged that that would result in higher prices for American consumers. As you noted, we also have done a study looking at supply chains in the grocery sector and trying to understand both what happened when the supply chains seized up and what's happened now that those stresses have been relieved. What we found was that consolidation and concentration can contribute to severe supply chain disruptions. Because if you concentrate production, if you put all of your eggs in one basket, a single disaster or a single outbreak can lead to all sorts of cascading problems, and the entire supply chain can seize up. And so promoting competition is good for more resilient supply chains. We also found that when these supply shortages hit, big companies were able to get special discounts, special access from big suppliers, and independent grocers got shut out. And so there can be an asymmetric impact where big corporations get out ahead and smaller corporations get left behind. We're also hearing a lot of concerns from independent grocers about some of that discrimination and how it could be leading to higher costs. So all of that is on our radar, and we're scrutinizing it closely.
So, and again, is there a way in which to, you've talked about what's on the radar, USDA and DOJ, working with them to deal with lowering food prices?
Yeah, absolutely. We work with both of them. We also have a lawsuit pending right now taking on practices by the two big pesticides manufacturers. We allege that their anti-competitive practices result in farmers overpaying by billions of dollars, and then farmers inevitably pass on those costs to consumers. So we have a lawsuit pending. We got a great victory at the motion to dismiss stage, and we're hoping if we're successful, that'll contribute to lower food prices as well.
Mm-hmm. Just as we wrote a letter, several of us, to the president. This is action on high food prices, and prohibiting exclusionary contracting by dominant firms in the industry, guidance on potential violations of the Robinson-Patman Act and Section 5 of FTC Act, cross-agency collaboration. That really is what you're referring to. So I hope you'll consider all of these options. I look forward to working with you on this issue. It is the biggest concern that the American people have, that they've gone to the grocery store and they're getting priced out. And that shouldn't happen. Let me move to infant formula, where you've done a report that examines some of the factors that led to the nationwide shortage of infant formula in 2022. Concerning for WIC participants who purchased more than half of infant formula in the United States. And that infant formula crisis really demonstrated the fragility and the hyper-consolidation of the U.S. infant formula market. 3 companies controlling upwards of 97% of the market. You mentioned several policy changes at FDA, USDA to improve access to safe infant formula for families in my state and across the country. In addition to the actions taken by FDA and USDA, what additional actions can FTC take to promote competition in the infant formula market? Address WIC, if you can, for a moment. Does that mechanism create large savings for the government allows WIC to provide more benefits within budget restraints, but do you believe that single supplier contracts will be a long-term problem in addressing the consolidation in the infant formula market?
So there's no doubt that WIC is such an essential program. When we looked at the infant formula market, we did see some suggestions that the current approach to WIC contracting, which are basically the single source contracts, can encourage consolidation and harm competition in ways that locks out some of these smaller formula manufacturers from the market, and also means that if you have a single contamination in a single factory, that can create shortages across the country. And so there's no doubt that, there are benefits from the current approach, but there are also downsides when it comes to creating a more fragile system. And so I think we need to figure out what's a better and more optimal balance there so that we don't have such a fragile market that really hurts American families.
Well, we saw the effect of what happened with infant formula, which was an enormous crisis. We shouldn't let that crisis just pass without trying to address some of the issues. What I would love to do is to work with you and to look at how we're going to promote that competition in the market and how, without disrupting the flow of WIC benefits because they are needed, but how we can have a different approach to not further encouraging consolidation. So thank you, and Mr. Chairman, thank you for indulging the additional time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate